Hi, welcome back to Hydroponics Daily. Today we're going to continue talking about grafting and some of the unusual, quirky grafts that can be made. So the first one here is what's called a family tree. In apples, you can buy trees that have got different varieties of apple grafted onto them. Sometimes this is done because you need a pollen donor to form good apples, and if there's none in your area, then you need a pollen from a different genetic source. Or you could just decide you want Granny Smiths and, Pink Ladies and Golden Delicious on tree. They don't tend to perform very well, but they are available, and they are something you'd see in a sort of plant catalogue, seed catalogue. Grapes are always grafted for winemaking in vineyards. And that's because in the 19th century there was a disease, a root aphid, I think it was phylloxera, and that attacked the roots of standard grapes. And so grapes are only on their own rootstock in one area in, I think in Chile. Everywhere else they're grafted. And some people said this affected the quality of the grape, but I highly doubt that because, as I said, the features don't transfer from the roots to the shoots very rarely. And so grapes are routinely grafted and they have a rootstock. Cherries, as I said before, they're what's called top worked, where the rootstock and the first sort of 6 foot of the tree are the rootstock, and then the top foliage is the ornamental, sort of like weeping one. So in like Japan, they're very popular, obviously, for their spring festival. Grafted cherries. Hops. I've read a report once, I think, where hops and cannabis were grafted because they're in the same family, where hops being the rootstock, but I'm not sure how accurate that was. Excuse me. There's something called interstocking. That's a curiosity where sometimes certain varieties are not compatible, so you can't graft them. But if you get another variety and put that in between the two of them, what's called an interstock, then the rootstock is compatible with the interstock, and the interstock is compatible with the scion, and happy days. So in apples and pears, interstocks are used for certain varieties. There's something called hot pipe grafting, where you put a hot pipe around the graft union, and that improves the grafting capabilities. So that's something to look at. Electrical conductivity. Now, this means where you measure the resistance between the scion and the rootstock, and apparently that drops dramatically once the cells have formed a successful union. So rather than having to open up the wax or the sealant, you can actually just measure the electrical conductivity between the two, and when it drops dramatically, you know that they formed a successful union. Another curiosity is cacti. Cacti, you can be grafted, and you'll see them on sale in places like IKEA. You'll see grafted cacti, one on top of the other, like a red cactus on top of a green cactus, and some people might think that looks amazing. Other people think it looks tacky as anything. So each to their own. If you like grafted cacti, then get going. Also, but why that's interesting is there's a type of cactus, or a plant in the cactus family, I think it's called parescia, and it looks like a normal plant. It's got leaves, like normal shaped leaves, and it's what cacti evolved from. And you can actually graft that onto cacti, and so I think it's a bit more cold tolerant. I think it grows in hills in Mexico. Could be wrong on that one though. I'm not an expert when it comes to cacti. What you can't graft with cacti is euphorbias that look like cacti, and you'll always know a cactus because cacti have their spines always sit on a little cushion, and euphorbias, they come straight out of the stem. So, and they have toxic wax inside them. So you need to be careful with euphorbias. Not only going to spike you, they've got toxic wax in them, and so or latex. So cacti can be grafted onto other cacti, but they can't be grafted onto euphorbias, which look exactly the same but they're from Africa and not from the Americas. And then finally, occasionally you get something called a chimera. And obviously you might have heard of chimeras. They happen in mice and even in humans, where the cells mix. And so you don't get hybridization when it comes to grafting. You'll never get a hybrid forming, but you can occasionally get a chimera if you're very lucky, and that's where the cells mix together and form a new plant composing two genetically distinct cell lines. And so the best example of this is something called Adam's laburnum, where it grows as one plant, the leaves all look the same, but every now and again yellow flowers form, and then on another branch pink flowers form, and it just looks absolutely bonkers. And there are loads of examples of chimeras in plants that have developed from somebody getting the graft union and somehow the cells have merged as they've grown. And so you could try and attempt it, but you'd have to be very lucky to get a chimera forming. But yeah, if you think you can, then certainly in certain strains that might be beneficial. It might be unusual, and you could potentially sell them for a lot of money. Adam's laburnum's not a cheap plant to buy, I don't think so, and you struggle to find a lot of these chimeras. So that's been grafting. There are lots of different techniques. There's something called budding, where you graft on a tiny little bud onto a larger plant. But yeah, there's lots of different techniques for grafting, and it's used a lot in fruit crops for mass propagation, or where you need a good rootstock. Thank you very much.